Hello, my name is Derek from Tomcat Gas Training and welcome to this video of the complete guide for gas engineers to RIDDOR. So in this video we're going to find out exactly what RIDDOR is and what it's all about and how it affects us as gas engineers. So let's stop messing around, let's stop waffling and let's just get on with it. Now if you don't find the information you want out of this video, you can always look at the IGEM G11 unsafe situations procedure. That gives you a guide into RIDDOR, kind of. Or you can speak to GasSafe or your local GasSafe inspector to help you along the way. But hopefully this video is going to give you all the information you need. So let's find out what this RIDDOR is. So what is RIDDOR? Well, RIDDOR stands for the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrence Regulations. That's what RIDDOR stands for. So it is the law and it requires that employers or self-employed people or even other people who take control of a business premises shall report and keep records of certain instances. These instances are such things as work-related accidents that cause death, work-related accidents that cause serious injuries, or dangerous occurrences which have a potential to cause harm. In 1980, we had the introduction of the Notification of Dangerous Occurrence Regulations. And this was introduced specifically for mines, quarries and the railways. Then in 1995, the HSE introduced us to RIDDOR. Now the purpose of this RIDDOR is so the Health and Safety Executive, or the HSE, and local authorities to be able to monitor accidents and trends and to identify how risks arise from accidents and be able to investigate these serious incidents. So as a gas engineer under these RIDDOR laws and regulations, you will need to report certain types of accidents and injuries which you may come across during your day-to-day life as a gas engineer or a plumber to the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive. So what does RIDDOR mean to us gas engineers and what must we report as gas engineers? So you or your employer must provide the HSE with any details or information on anything such as gas fittings, any gas appliances, flues or ventilation used with these appliances as you as the gas engineer consider to be dangerous to such an extent that people could be rendered unconscious or need to be taken to hospital because of the design, installation, construction, servicing or modification of a gas appliance that could result in an accidental leakage of gas, incomplete combustion of the gas, or inadequate removal of any products of combustion from the appliances. Now as gas engineers, when we're reporting under RIDDOR, we normally report under RIDDOR section 11 paragraph 2, which is the reporting of dangerous gas fittings. But there is also RIDDOR Regulation 11 paragraph 1, which is about reporting somebody who has died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Now most gas engineers wouldn't be reporting under Regulation 11 paragraph 1, they would all be under Regulation 11 paragraph 2. In Regulation 11 paragraph 1 it's also about the exposure of not just carbon monoxide, the exposure to gas and explosions as well. So as a general gas engineer, you wouldn't normally get involved with 11 paragraph 1. It's all about 11 paragraph 2. Now as a gas engineer, why do we need to report these accidents and injuries and diseases to RIDDOR? So reporting certain incidents to the HSE is a legal requirement. So this report informs the enforcing authorities about deaths, injuries, occasional diseases and dangerous occurrences in the workplace. This allows them to identify where and how risks arise and whether they need to be investigated or not. This allows the enforcing authorities to target their work and to provide information on how to avoid these work-related deaths, injuries and accidental loss in the workplace. So as a gas engineer, what records do I need to keep? So you'll need to keep any records of any injuries that has made you be off work for more than 7 consecutive days. So you'll need to go online and print off and fill in and save a copy of the report you've just completed, and then email the report off to the appropriate people. You must keep a copy of this report for your records, making sure you have the correct time, the correct date, and the correct information of when the accident, incident, disease, or dangerous occurrence happened. You will also need to make sure there is a brief description of what is occurring. And even if you repair a dangerous gas fitting, ventilation, or a boiler, you should still notify the HSE via the RIDDOR form of the incident you've just stopped happening. Did you note that I said 7 consecutive working days, not 3 consecutive working days? Well, from the 6th of April 2012, they changed it. So if you've been off work 7 consecutive days, you'll need to report this, where it used to be this 3 consecutive days. And these 7 consecutive days take into account rest days and weekends when reporting. And it used to be that you must report within 14 days, it's now 15 days. So now where a worker is incapacitated for more than 3 consecutive work days but less than 7, this must still be recorded, but recorded in the accident book at work. But where you're incapacitated for more than 7 working days, then you will need to fill in the RIDDOR form. But this 7 consecutive working days does not include the day of the accident. So it's 7 consecutive days after the day of the accident. And again, this would include weekends and any rest days you would have. Now, as a gas engineer, let's have a look and see what is reportable and what is not reportable. Let's look at reportable first. So a dangerous gas fitting is that is defined in the Gas Safety Installation and Use Regulations 1998 and include pipework, meters, regulators and appliances. So where a gas fitting, a flue, ventilation or an appliance you deem to be unsafe and dangerous to the extent that it might kill someone, blow the place up or put somebody in hospital, this must be reported under RIDDOR. Now with the changes to the Gas Industry Unsafe Situations Procedure IGEM G11, where they removed RIDDOR quite a while ago, I think it was edition 7 when they removed the RIDDOR. They basically say in IGEM G11 anything you find immediately dangerous could be RIDDOR reportable. And again guys, if you do fix any gas fitting, anything wrong with ventilation, anything wrong with flues, anything spilling products of combustion, and you think, ooh, that was a bit dangerous, then you must be reporting that under RIDDOR. So what's not reportable then for gas engineers? Well, according to our unsafe situations procedure, anything you classify as at risk would not be RIDDOR reportable. Gas appliances, what you find are dangerous due to not being serviced or maintained, are generally not RIDDOR reportable. But if they were spilling products of combustion or gas, then yes, you would be reporting them under RIDDOR, because they wouldn't be at risk, would they? They'd be ID. So generally, non-gas safety defects are not reportable under RIDDOR. So other things such as dangerous electrical connections to appliances and even things like safety devices missing off unvented cylinders, they are not reportable under RIDDOR. Obviously, unless somebody was injured, killed, off work for more than 7 days because of it, then you would be reporting it under RIDDOR. But if you do have any concerns about any appliances or any gas fittings or ventilation that you find is not RIDDOR reportable, you can still report it to GasSafe and RIDDOR. Even dangerous things you find on landlord's reports are not automatically RIDDOR reportable. Again, it's all about whether somebody has been taken to hospital, been made unconscious, killed or been off work for more than 7 days. They would be then reportable under RIDDOR. But if landlord's gas safety checks have not been completed, you can report that to the HSE because the appliances haven't had their safety checks done. But if a general customer doesn't have the boiler service, then that's a different matter and is not reportable under RIDDOR. So basically, in a nutshell, what GasSafe are selling us is if you find anything immediately dangerous in a property, whether it's rented or it's privately owned or it's a factory, then you must be reporting this under RIDDOR. This is not just for natural gas, this could also be for things such as LPG. So that's what we should and we shouldn't be reporting. So what does the HSE, or the Health and Safety Executive, do with my report once I've submitted it? When you submit your form, it will be initially triggered by the HSE gas safety officers. If your report is reporting another GasSafe registered engineer, this will then be passed on to the GasSafe register, who will carry out the investigation on behalf of the HSE. Once GasSafe have completed their report, the HSE gas officers will then consider whether it needs to be investigated or not. Any reports involving commercial organisations or catering establishments will be passed on to the appropriate local authorities for them to investigate. Now, I've been reported to RIDDOR twice in my gas life, and I can honestly say they were nothing to do with me. The first one was a bit delicate and I won't go into, but the second one was an engineer reporting me when the engineer himself had no clue whatsoever what he was doing. But it was still investigated by GasSafe, and I still received a letter telling me I wasn't able to undertake gas work while the investigation was going on, which was a bit frustrating. And yeah, it was a bit weird really that I won't even mention the company's name who reported me to RIDDOR, but they completely got it wrong. Yeah, I was investigated, and the guy who actually reported me, who was completely wrong and found to be completely wrong, was not investigated. So I found that a bit strange and something I don't really want to be going through again. So just make sure, guys, if you are reporting another gas engineer, make sure you've got all your facts right first, because if you are wrong, then maybe GasSafe might come down on you. But I doubt it. But anyway, let's continue. Now, before we finish off with some examples of what gas engineers need to RIDDOR, let's have a look at the other parts of RIDDOR. Let's start with injuries and the types of injuries what need to be reported under RIDDOR. So it's all about the severity of the injury that the patient has received. So obvious things like fatal injuries to employees or the general public will need to be reported under RIDDOR. This injuries over 7 days, so somebody sustained an injury, minor injury, but they're off work for over 7 days, that's also reportable. And in your workplace, if any non-fatal injuries has happened to a member of the public, that also needs to be reportable. So let's have a look at these actual injuries, what need to be reported. So any bone fractures that has been diagnosed by a medical practitioner, any kind of amputation, so whether you've had your thumb amputated, your arm, your leg or your head, they need to be reported under RIDDOR. Loss of sight in one or both eyes, again, due to an injury at work, they need to be reported. Any crushing injuries that result in brain damage or internal organ damage, they're reportable. And burns and scalds over 10% of the body, they're reportable. Any head injuries or asphyxia which result in hospitalised treatment, or anything where the patient has to go to hospital, is all RIDDOR reportable. And hospitalisation is actually being in hospital for more than 24 hours. So they are the types of injuries that need to be reported under RIDDOR. So what about these diseases? Which of those needs to be reported under RIDDOR? And again, these are all due to work related, not just because you've been sat at home watching telly. So if you get carpal tunnel, if you don't know what carpal tunnel is, it's when this gets affected here through repetitive work. So that's quite common for gas engineers and plumbers to get carpal tunnel. Another repetitive injury is muscle cramps in the hands or the forearms. Dermatitis, that's another quite common plumbing and gas engineer type disease you get. Occupational asthma, so if you've suffered any kind of chemical burns to your lungs and it's created asthma and stuff like that, so they're all reported under RIDDOR. Tendinitis, that's another hand or arm disease basically. Again, reportable. And yes, this awful pandemic we're getting across the world is RIDDOR reportable if they have contracted it in work. So I guess there will be a lot of doctors and nurses with this horrible disease being reported to RIDDOR, but if it's only if they've caught it at work. And finally, any types of occupational cancer, so cancer you've gained through the work you do. Again, these are the diseases we're looking at under RIDDOR. What about dangerous occurrences? Let's have a look at them. Dangerous occurrences are basically incidents that will cause harm or ill health to a worker. So things like if you get injured through lifting equipment, you would need to report that to RIDDOR. If an electrical short circuit causes an explosion or a fire, that would be reported under RIDDOR. If this explosion ceases work for over 24 hours, must be reported. Anything to do with asbestos. So anybody who has been affected by the effects of asbestos will need to be reported to RIDDOR. Or any intentional release of anything what could harm someone, so any chemical which could harm someone. That would be RIDDOR reportable. So that was a quick look at all the other parts of RIDDOR which we need to take into consideration, because at the end of the day, gas engineer, you're either working for someone or you're self-employed. So we need to be aware of what is reportable and what isn't. But if you do need any help, you can get in touch with the Health and Safety Executive, either through their website, or for fatal injuries only, you can phone them on 0345 300 99 23. Now let's have a look at some examples of what gas engineers need to be considering RIDDOR in what we find in our day-to-day working life. Come on then, we're getting on with it. Now we can cover a few things in one go here. So we've got an open fluid appliance. This open fluid appliance has got no ventilation, so no ventilation would only be deemed as at risk, so not RIDDOR reportable. We've got not 600 rise to the first bend, and we've got 90-degree bends. They are at risk, not ID, and not RIDDOR reportable. But we've got spillage. We've got spillage of combustion products due to the flue being taped and broken. Okay, faulty, dodgy workmanship. So that would be ID and RIDDOR due to the dodgy workmanship. Now what we've got here is we've got a flueless space heater, and the flueless space heater has no ventilation. No ventilation on this flueless space heater makes it at risk, but it's failed its flue gas analyzer readings. So that makes it ID and RIDDOR because it's a flueless space heater, somebody's not put ventilation in, and it has a flue gas analyzer reading of greater than 0.001 on its ratio. So, ID and RIDDOR. So here we have a flue terminating inside the building. So if this was terminating into a conservatory or inside a building, that would be automatically ID and RIDDOR. So what we have here is a live gas supply that used to feed an old fire, but it's not been capped off, it's not sealed, it's left open, so it's an open end. So that would be ID and RIDDOR. Now, we should all know that failing a tightness test makes it ID, but does failing a tightness test make it RIDDOR reportable? Well, if you fail a tightness test because somebody's used a plastic push-fit fitting and it's failed a tightness test, then it's ID and RIDDOR reportable. But if you failed a tightness test because you've not soldered a joint properly on a second tightness test after installation, you're going to do RIDDOR yourself. Anyway, so not every failed tightness test is RIDDOR reportable. Other things that might be RIDDOR reportable though are if the regulator's missing off the gas meter, that's RIDDOR reportable, that's ID and RIDDOR. But if your ECV falls to on, that's not RIDDOR reportable because you just need to report it to Cadent. Earth bonding missing, no, that's not RIDDOR reportable because it's not ID. You just need to notify the customer they need to get an electrician to do the earth bonding. So that's a look at some of the RIDDOR reportable things you might have to do. So if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you give me that thumbs up because it shows me you care, or leave a constructive comment down below because that helps the channel. If you're not subscribed to our channel yet, then please subscribe and hit that notification bell because we release videos every Wednesday. All I've got left to say is thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Cheers.